Have you ever noticed that two people can both say, I'm exhausted, but their actual state feels completely different? One person sleeps 10 hours and still wakes up empty. Another person has energy in the morning but crashes after one stressful meeting. Someone else looks strong on the outside, keeps working, keeps smiling, but inside they feel like the system is quietly leaking power every day. This is where most people misunderstand fatigue. They think tiredness is one thing, just a matter of being more tired or less tired. But from the Taiyi Budong perspective, the same fatigue can reflect completely different patterns of energy loss. A lot of people eventually notice that rest alone does not always solve the problem. They may go to bed earlier, take a weekend off, reduce some work, or try to relax, but the feeling of depletion still comes back. This is because fatigue is only the surface language. It tells you something is not operating smoothly, but it does not tell you what kind of imbalance is happening underneath. In Taiyi Budong energy navigation, we look at the body as a human battery and energy regulation system. The question is not simply, are you tired? The better question is, how is your system becoming tired? If you really observe carefully, different people lose energy from different places first. Some people lose their foundation. Their whole reserve becomes thinner and even ordinary tasks feel expensive. Some people still have energy, but it does not distribute well, almost like the system has enough electricity, but the wiring is not smooth. Some people lose the ability to recharge at night because the mind keeps running, and the body never fully shifts inward. Others have a false full charge, where they look active and capable, but that activity is being held up by tension, responsibility, or forced effort. This is why Taiyi Budong keeps emphasizing that fatigue should not be viewed only as a sensation. It should be viewed as a pattern. When a person says, I'm tired, we need to ask whether the issue is low reserve, poor delivery, fast leakage, unstable rhythm, or too many background processes running quietly in the system. Background processes are those hidden energy drains that continue even when you are not doing obvious work. Overthinking, emotional pressure, unresolved tension, and constant inner alertness can all keep the human battery consuming power while the person believes they are resting. One common misunderstanding is that sleep automatically means recharge. But in real life, many people lie down without truly entering a deep recharge window. The body is horizontal, but the system is still active. The mind reviews conversations, predicts tomorrow's problems, worries about unfinished tasks, or scrolls through information until the nervous rhythm stays outward. In that state, the person may sleep, but the recharge window is shallow. The next morning, they wake up with a false full charge or no charge at all. They are not necessarily lacking time in bed. They are missing the inward rhythm that allows restoration. Another pattern is energy impedance. This means the energy is not completely absent, but the flow is restricted. A person may say, I'm tired, but when you listen more carefully, they do not describe emptiness. They describe heaviness, stuckness, pressure, tightness, or a sense that the body cannot open. In daily life, this person may still perform tasks, but everything feels harder than it should. Their human battery may have some available power, but the transmission is inefficient. In this pattern, the issue is not only how much energy exists, it is how smoothly the system can deliver and distribute that energy. Then there are people whose main issue is fast leakage. They may begin the day feeling acceptable, but their energy drops too quickly once demands increase. A busy conversation, a stressful message, a few unexpected tasks, or a late night can pull the entire system downward. These people often say, I was fine, and then suddenly I wasn't. From the Taiyi Budong view, their human battery may still generate some charge, but it cannot hold the charge steadily. Their trend line becomes unstable. Some days look better, some days collapse, and over time the overall direction slowly tilts downward. This is where TEI and YQI become useful as observation concepts. TEI, or Total Energy Index, points to the broader picture of total usable energy in the system. YQI, or Yang Qi Index, points more toward activation, warmth, movement, and the ability to rise into daily function. A person can have enough short-term YQI to push through the day, but the deeper TEI may still be declining. This is one reason someone can appear energetic, talk quickly, work hard, and still feel deeply depleted afterward. The surface output does not always represent true internal stability. What most people misunderstand is that the human battery does not drain evenly. If 10 people experience the same busy week, they will not all break down in the same way. One person loses sleep first, another loses emotional steadiness, another loses digestive rhythm or daily appetite rhythm, another loses motivation, another becomes quiet, heavy, and slow, another becomes irritated and restless. Taiyi Budong calls attention to this individualized first point of collapse. Fatigue is not just a general decline. It usually appears first at the area where the person's system already had the least stability. This is also why a fixed lifestyle formula often fails. One person may need to protect the recharge window first. Another person may need to reduce energy impedance through gentler rhythm and movement. Another person may need to lower background processes because the visible workload is not the main drain. Another person may need a clearer life operating protocol, meaning a more stable way of arranging work, rest, attention, food rhythm, emotional rhythm, and recovery rhythm. Without understanding the pattern, people often adjust randomly. They add more stimulation when they need quiet, or they force rest when the system first needs regulation. In the Taiyi Budong framework, we can also look at fatigue through systemic tilt. Systemic tilt means the overall system has shifted away from balance in a consistent direction. Maybe the person is always outward, always consuming, always reacting, and rarely returning inward. Maybe their day and night rhythm has reversed emotionally, even if the clock looks normal. Maybe they are living in constant output mode and the human battery never receives a full recharge. When this continues, fatigue is no longer just a temporary feeling. It becomes a pattern of operation, a repeated direction in the trend line. This is where tools like EMAS and TRI can support self-observation. EMAS can be understood as observing how energy moves through mood, activity, and system response. TRI can be understood as observing the relationship between tension, rhythm, and recovery. These are not medical labels, they are educational ways to help people observe the system more clearly. If you only ask, "Am I tired today?" the answer may change every day, but if you ask, "How did I consume energy? How did I recharge, and what repeated pattern do I see?" then the human battery becomes much easier to understand. Let's take a real-life example. Imagine someone who works at a computer all day and says they are tired every evening. If their main issue is low TEI, they may feel empty, slow, and deeply unrecovered even after light work. If their main issue is high energy impedance, they may feel tense, heavy, and blocked, as if energy cannot circulate smoothly. If their main issue is poor recharge window quality, they may feel wired at night and dull in the morning. If their main issue is background processes, they may not be working harder than others, but their mind never stops consuming energy. Another example is emotional responsibility. Some people are not physically overloaded, but they carry invisible pressure every day. They manage family emotions, worry about future uncertainty, or feel responsible for everyone around them. On the outside, their schedule may not look extreme, so they wonder why they feel depleted. But the human battery is not only drained by physical effort, it is also drained by constant internal activation. When emotional background processes keep running, the system may stay in output mode for months or years. Over time, the trend line quietly changes, and fatigue becomes the language of a deeper pattern. So the real question is not, why am I tired, in a general way? The real question is, what kind of energy loss pattern am I in right now? Am I losing foundation? Am I losing flow? Am I leaking too quickly? Am I missing my recharge window? Am I running too many background processes? Is my capital YQI pushing outward while my capital TEI is declining underneath? Is this a temporary low point, or is it part of a longer systemic tilt? When you ask these questions, you stop fighting fatigue as a vague enemy and begin observing your own energy regulation system. This entire discussion is educational, not medical advice. Taiyi Budong energy navigation is not about labeling disease or making fear-based conclusions. It is about helping people observe their own system, Understand their energy rhythm and notice the relationship between consumption, recharge, and balance. When you understand fatigue structurally, you gain a different kind of self-awareness. You no longer assume every tired person needs the same solution. You begin to see the human battery as dynamic, individual, and constantly changing according to rhythm, pressure, recovery, and daily choices. So, if you have been feeling tired, do not rush to judge yourself as weak, lazy, or simply busy. Start observing the pattern. Notice when your recharge window is deep or shallow, whether your background processes are still running, and whether your trend line is improving or slowly tilting downward. This is the beginning of a more intelligent, life operating protocol. If this video helped you understand your human battery more clearly, subscribe to this channel, continue learning Tai Yi Budong energy navigation, and keep observing your system with patience and clarity.